Internet trolls. What's your worst troll that made you feel terrible afterwards? When I was in high school around 14-15 years old, everybody was playing Counter-Strike, and so was I. L33 Speak was hitting its all-time high. In computer class we were just playing around with the computers, when I stumbled upon the Wikipedia page of my hometown. To my astonishment, my city was founded in 1336. You can imagine my excitement. Not even thinking about it for 1 minute, I edited the Wikipedia page to 1337. I'm from Germany, and send the link to all of my friends. That were the days in which you could still edit Wikipedia pages without much hassle. My friends chuckled for a while and I forgot about it. About 10 years later, I check out the Wikipedia page again. It still says 1337. I tried to edit it back and told the authors I changed it 10 years ago, but they don't believe me. Now, even in the English Wikipedia, it says 1337. In my hometown's tourist information and homepage it says 1337 and cites Wikipedia as a source. TLDR. Guess my hometown will be L33T forever. 20 years later historian proves, town name, wasn't founded in 1337 after all. When I was in the Navy, we were often tasked to repaint various parts of the submarine to prevent rust. I was told to repaint part of the engine room lower level bilge. I hate painting, so naturally I painted a bunch of dongs. The paint was the same color so they were mostly unnoticeable. Turns out that a year or so later, when another dude got assigned to paint the same spot, he chose not to paint but reported that he was finished. His division officer did a spot check and noticed the preponderance of phallic hieroglyphs and assumed he did it. He kept saying that he didn't do it, but then he had to admit that he hadn't painted. He was busted down from E5 to E4 and restricted to the boat for 60 days. He had to paint every bilge in the engine room by himself. Luckily they didn't remember who had painted last because the guy who had assigned it to me the last time was already gone. I was also gone by that point, but a buddy of mine relayed the story to me. I did not confess. It's like the story of Tom Sawyer, but with dongs. I was playing Warcraft, an online multiplayer game where people build their own vehicles and blow each other up, and generally being obnoxious about everything. You used to be able to bring a high level gun into a level 1 match. Read new players by basically strapping it to a chair with a rocket. That would basically kill 90% of the opposite team with one shot, while making you extremely difficult to hit. There I was, flying around and obliterating wave after wave of newbies. I was heavily trolling Chat2 with stereotypical 10-year-old garbage like lol I am to elite H4X0R. Being a grade A jerk in every sense of the word. One of the guys on my team wasn't very good and got stuck on a hill or something. I started trolling him with lol learn to play nub or something equally stupid. His response, I'm new. My grandson got me this game. Sorry I made us lose, comma. Oh man. I hate to say it, but I'm pretty sure old people trolling stamps your one-way ticket to heck then and there, and there's nothing you can do to change it. My mom went out for groceries, and while she was gone, I somehow convinced my younger brother that she had arranged to send him away to her summer camp. Why would she do this and not tell me? Mom's sorry she wasn't here to say goodbye. After a hysterical meltdown, he miraculously came to terms with the fact that he was going. We furiously packed up all of his belongings and I told him to wait on the front porch until the bus came to pick him up. 10 minutes later, my mom pulls up in front of the house, only to find her little boy sobbing with half a dozen packed suitcases. Needless to say, I was grounded for quite some time after, but 20 plus years later, I still carry a little bit of guilt from that prank. If it helps, as a younger brother, this is actually one of the few stories here that I've thought that's kind of hilarious though. It helps a lot more that you feel guilty about it though. I used to troll on Omegle by pretending to be different people. Sometimes I was a doctor, other times I was a policeman, etc. I tried to get everyone to know I was bullshitting by getting more and more ridiculous as time went on. But this one time, I pretended to be a publisher, and it just so happened that one of the people I talked to was an aspiring author. To be honest, the little bits they shared with me weren't actually that awful. Of course, me being the crap I was though decided that I couldn't outright say that I was lying. So I decided to make up a story saying that I would be happy to talk to others about publishing the story. I just needed some time. I made a new email address, gave it to them, and told them I would get back to them within a week. So a month later I remembered about this incident and decided to just tell them that I couldn't do it. I checked the email of that account and saw 3 emails from the person. The first one was just asking if there was any update and saying how thankful they were that I was doing this. The second one was about how they had found another publisher and would go down that route if I didn't respond. Then there was the third one. The person told me their life story. TBH, the details are a little fuzzy, but they came from a poor family and their parents were super strict about them reading and writing for whatever reason. They had to go to the public library under the guise of hanging out with friends in order to get their reading time in. When they eventually moved out of their hometown, they severed all ties with their parents and were struggling to get by day to day. At the end of that email though, they told me something I will never forget. 2 can play this game. I never trolled on Omegle again. Holy frick, that's ominous. A friend I met through Xbox Live told me he once convinced a kid that there was a creature in Halo 3. It's called the Easter Marsupial. He explained that killing this creature would grant you recon armor in Halo 3 multiplayer, but that it only appeared on Easter. He ran around with this kid in the campaign giving him fake clues and then killing himself to really convince this poor kid. If you even mention Easter Marsupial, he leaves the party, and it's glorious. This was about 3 years ago on MW3. I was playing some drop zone with my mic on and there's this little kid who sounds like he's maybe 7. This kid is squeaking up my mic with swears I didn't even know I existed when I was that age. I decided that I couldn't take it anymore and decided to invite this kid into a private chat to only convince him that I was part of the Xbox Live safety team or something like that and that I had been monitoring his gameplay and actions toward others. I tell this kid that I need to speak with his parent and he seriously goes and gets his dad. Dad comes on the mic and I explain the situation to him. Sir, I work with the Xbox Live safety team and I'm speaking with you because your son has broken many of Xbox Live's terms of use. I went on to explain everything the kid was doing and the father starts screaming as his son. I can hear his son crying and screaming in the background, profusely refusing to his dad. In the chaos I hear the father tell his son that he's losing his Xbox for 2 weeks. A loud wail filled my mic and I couldn't contain it anymore. So I left the private chat. 2 minutes later he left the game. I felt a little bad. Kid shouldn't have been saying he was gonna frick me when he was 7. Learning a lesson is almost never painless. I hope that kid cleaned up a bit. I got drunk and posted a pic of a guy eating a turd to Arfwood porn. I am now banned from Arfwood porn. In Vanilla and Burning Crusade World of Warcraft I played a warlock. Back then warlocks had multiple ways to kill their own faction. I'd frequently get messages asking for me to summon a stranger to my location. This was a pain back in THW day as you needed multiple people to help. If I was playing with my guild however, I'd agree. We would then find the deepest water, cast water breathing, dive down deep and start the summon. By the time the zone loaded for the player, their character was usually dead from drowning. Warlocks could also summon 2 powerful demons that were not bound to them unless you cast an enslave spell. One of them had an aura of fire that constantly damaged all people around it. I would drop these in low level zones where the aura itself would kill most players quickly. Really early on they could take out guards. If they were fighting guards near certain quest givers, it made it impossible to complete quest. When the expansion came out, warlocks got a spell called Seed of Corruption. It dealt damage over time, then at the end exploded for a lot of damage to every enemy around it. There was an exploit in the game a guildmate and I took advantage of. We would go to a low level neutral town where Horde and Alliance both gathered and get into a duel. I would cast this spell on his pet, whom he would take control of and charge toward a group of players from the opposing faction. The explosion would wipe them all out. He would heal his pet and we'd repeat. The guards wouldn't attack us, because the explosion didn't count as attacking the other faction. If they attacked a pet, the guards would kill them. Looking back, I was a total dong. There was this website that if you went to it a giant flashing Rickroll video would come up and then endless pop-ups of Rickroll glory would start coming up. I tried this originally at school, on Macs, and it worked fine. Nothing bad happened to the computer. I went to a friend's house later that week and tricked him into going on the site. Whole computer started acting weird, had to reboot, and his user profile on Windows got wiped and he lost all of his files game saves. Frick the Rickroll. I need this website. Had a buddy from old Counter-Strike clan who was obsessed with the Marine Corps. He was going to be something like a 4th generation Marine in his family. This kid was in JROTC and already committed to ROTC once he turned 18. He was 17 at the time. Let's call him Patton. Patton used to make fun frick with this 13-year-old kid who was also in the clan. Let's call him Greg. Always sent Greg messages saying he was gonna get him banned or diddle his noodle. Greg was gullible as frick, so of course he always got a good reaction and fell for every prank. Anyway, one day Patton decided to mess with him while we were all in TeamSpeak. Standard immature stuff. This time he told him his uncle worked for Valve and he was going to get him banned. Well, to my surprise, the kid messages me and seems worried. He doesn't know what to do. I said, hold on. I want you to send every message I tell you to Patton, Greg. Hi Patton, this is Greg's dad. I will have you know I work for the DA in said county and I will not tolerate this kind of abuse and bullying. My son has been very upset lately because of the messages you are sending him. I have instructed him to save any and all messages from you from the past several weeks. At this point I believe we have enough information to go to the police. Patton. Lol WTF, are you serious? Greg. I am serious and I have already pulled your IP address 123456789 and provided it to your local authorities. You should be hearing from them shortly. We do mean to press charges. Goodbye, signs off. Now I should mention at this point in TeamSpeak Patton is freaking the frick out. He knows that Greg doesn't have the ability to talk in a professional structure like this. And to make it worse, he sees at the IP I put in the message. He types find my IP into Google and guess what? That is his actual IP. Dude, IT is my IP. How the frick did he get my IP? I got it by going onto our server forums, which I was an admin for, and pulling it from a post he made. Obviously Patton doesn't know of any way Greg could have gotten that IP, which makes it all the more believable. At this point Patton is breaking down. He is crying, asking us what to do. He knows that any kind of criminal record would flunk him out of ROTC. He would be the first in 4 generations to not make it into the Marine Corps. How is he going to tell his dad? What is he going to do with his life? He didn't apply to any colleges. Needless to say, I let him suffer for a few hours before I let him know what I did. He didn't make fun of Greg anymore. It would be called trolling by today's standards, but back in the day, 1999 to 2000, me and a couple of online friends would go on random chat rooms, typically gaming ones, and annoy some of the guys on it. One time I remember, even 15 years later, was when a friend and I were on some chat room. I can't remember which one specifically, and a random guy asked me out, so I said yes, jokingly of course. He talked to me in private and must have genuinely thought I was actually his girlfriend, so I was playing along and sending the messages to my friend, and we'd sit there and laugh at what he was saying to me, such as calling me gorgeous even though he didn't know what I looked like, saying he really loved me, etc. I went back the day after, just in general, not to annoy him again, and turns out that after me and my friend had left chat, he was talking to the others on chat about me and how I was the best girlfriend he ever had and stuff. It turned out he was autistic and had no idea that I was joking. I felt so crappy after that. I'd have never done it if I knew that were the case. I went back on the chat a few times to apologize to him, but I didn't see him again. Slippy 2. If you ever read this, I am so sorry. As the father of an 8-year-old boy on the autism spectrum, thanks for feeling remorse. I'm scared as crap for my son sometimes. Man, I hope this doesn't get buried, but I have an awesome military story. So, there's this guy, a staff sergeant, in our platoon, married with 4 kids, 1 on the way. He uses plenty of fish at work, and some of our E4s got his username. They come up with this elaborate plan, create a profile with pictures and the whole shebang, and start chatting him up. This goes on for a month. He told fake profile that we nicknamed him Sparkplug because he gets things started around here. That was complete balls. Dude couldn't pass a PT test for the life of him. No idea how he got his 6. Anyways, ol Sparky is really into fake profile girl and brags, Even shows the guys at work, look at this hottie, she's totally into me. They have a hard time containing their laughter, usually walking away holding laughter under their breath. By this point, the whole platoon is in on it, all the way up to our captain and major. Sparky even had the audacity to send Dong pictures from the hospital where his wife was getting an ultrasound. I can't make this crap up. Absolute scumbag. Anyways, a month passes and we get him to agree to meet fake profile girl at a restaurant. We all show up, the entire platoon of around 40, and have our biggest guy wear a wig, 350 lb. Solid freaking muscle. The look on his face when he realized he done goofed was a mixture of terror, shock, and humiliation. We had dinner and busted his balls the entire time. From that point on, he was known as Sergeant Sparky, and not even E1S would respect him, even the officers let the E1S rag on him. Soon after he was fired from the unit. There is no regret. Frick that guy. When I read Plenty of Fish at Work, I thought he used a large number of aquatic creatures as part of his occupation. I pretended to be a girl on Omegle and got a guy to give me money over PayPal and bought Terraria. I'm 31 and I know this isn't the internet troll, but I wanted to get this off my chest. When I was like 15, I called a classmate and said I kidnapped your mother. Just being idiot teenagers who pranked over telephone and nothing else. He kept saying, "Do you know who this is?" I said yes. He asked who. I said his name. He said, "What the frick?" So I just hung up. My friend asked me if that was so. I said yeah, why? He said his mother died a year ago. I felt so bad. I would see him in school and he would always still talk to me. Saw him a couple times after HS and we would have a few drinks. A year after that he got into drugs and committed suicide. Never could get over his mom. I feel so horrible. I wish I could have said I was sorry, but I always thought he wouldn't believe me that I didn't know. Frick. So many RuneScape scams. My favorite one was me, my brother, and friend making new accounts, training to about level 7, finding everyone in the PK world our level and recruiting them. Had like 30 people in our clan. Go into wild and pick out people one by one and command the rest of the people to kill them. So much betrayal. In high school I went on the computer in my science class, opened Word, typed the word poop, and then printed 100 copies or so. The teacher told me I was very immature and I felt a little bad. Then for the next week every handout we got in class had the word poop printed on the back and I stopped feeling bad, because that was hilarious. Told my mom I was adopted. Really shook her up. My ma was pretty liquored up once and telling me that if I had any problems, I could always come to her for them. Before she could finish the sentence I yelled out, "My girlfriend's pregnant," she screamed in the middle of the restaurant. I didn't have a girlfriend. I was 14. Was hanging out in a chat room late one night when some random chick started going crazy saying someone had broken into her apartment and was threatening to harm her, etc. She said she had locked herself in her room and was chatting with us instead of calling police because the guy threatened to kick in the door if she did. After a couple minutes of such things it became increasingly obvious that she was just trolling the room. So I asked her to send me a quick email so I could help. Once the email arrived I pulled up the full email headers, found the originating IP address and used a reverse lookup to get the city of her ISP. Luckily it was a small town and her email used her last name and there was only one such name in the white pages for her area. So I pulled up her address on Google Maps and replied with a pic of her house and offered to call cops for her to the address as well as call her myself. Listed her number if she needed any additional support. She immediately stopped the trolling online and left the room. Never got a reply to the email either. Felt kinda bad for likely scaring the crap out of some kid. In the late 1990s I used to program in Visual Basic. There was a kid in my grade who was always harassing me on AOL to teach him how to program, but he never seemed interested in reading any of the links I sent him to actually learn to program. All he cared about was doing very specific things, and would beg me to send him source code which he would proceed to copy and paste, and then take credit for. I eventually got sick of this, so I embed lines in my source code which would delete AOL from his computer, but only 1 out of every 10 times. I made fun of Stuart Scott and his googly eye on Twitter. He responded and we exchanged a bit. Later he died of cancer and I bawled my eyes out watching all the specials on ESPN. I really regret that one. My stepbrother told a small child on Xbox Live that Santa wasn't real. Turns out he wasn't aware of that. That was pretty funny. Santa gives him Xbox. Xbox reveals that Santa isn't real. I don't know if this counts as trolling, but whatever. I'll tell it anyway. When I was maybe 9 or 10, I was obsessed with Neopets. I spent a lot of time on there. It was my #1 interest, and all I cared about was getting a certain paintbrush or avatar or whatever else. This was all very unfortunate, though, because when it came to actually making Neopoints, I was not very good at all. So, obviously, I decided to become a scammer, or, really, a freaking virtual terrorist. That I was very good at. I had a whole system. I would make a new account, wait until I was allowed to start posting to forums with it, and then I would make a post telling everyone about this amazing thing. Did you know if you typed your password backwards, it would still be censored? See, look, awesome. Try it out. They would do it and I would very quickly use their password to get into their account, change their password and the email their account was associated with to stall any attempt they made to get back in, and begin to put any item I wanted in a trade, and then with yet another account I would accept the trade and get their items. I would then send those items to my main account. In one of my fake accounts I would put a useless item up for sale for however many Neopoints they had and buy it from their account, thus stealing their money, and then I would repeat the process to get the points to my main. Then, when I was done and I had bled their account dry, I would find an inappropriate picture that I knew their account would be frozen for uploading, generally an image filled with curse words, and I'd upload it as a repeating background on their profile. I'd make a post in the forums asking people to rate my profile, thus ensuring that they'd see the image, be offended, and report it, and this person's account would be frozen and I'd walk away back to my main and enjoy my bounty. In the time I did this, I managed to swindle away millions and millions of Neopoints and some incredibly rare items from more people than I could say. I never had my main account frozen. I had zero remorse. It's only as an adult that I look back and cringe and feel horrible about what I'd done and how many kids I undoubtedly hurt. I was a horrible child and nothing good came out of it, except that now I try to be a better adult, for whatever that is worth. You've been spotted by the doggo of studying. Like this video for good grades for the next 2 years. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.